Good afternoon and good morning to the folks from the West Coast. Thank you for joining us today. As you know, we're going to be talking about our ArkCase case management platform, and specifically the solution that we'll talk about today will be around FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, public records. We'll go through essentially a background behind our company, our product, talk a little bit about the application itself. Let me tell you a little bit about our company. Our company was founded in 2002. We're based in the Washington, D.C. metro area, as well as a few other offices, as you see on the screen. Our primary business can be divided into two parts. Number one, we're a technology company around the case management platform that we're going to talk about mostly today. And number two, we're a traditional systems integrator that utilize our ArkCase platform along with our ECM methodology and practice and try to solve business problems. We're a veteran-owned small business, have a bunch of certifications around process and service. You are probably familiar with ISO and CMMI Level 3 appraisal, but most of the time our partnership started off with our ECM practice. You guys are familiar with the players, but you can also see them here, as well as just general IT services within our SI practice. We have a number of different accolades in different areas. For example, we've been an Alfresco Federal Partner of the Year for 3 years. We have won a number of accolades from OpenText, Documentum, and several other ones that, again, you can see here within this slide. So when you look at our portfolio overall, you can see that when we started the business, it was around ECM and records management. With that, several years ago, through a project that we worked with FBI, we decided to productize our case management system. And most of that, again, you'll get to see today, and specifically around our FOIA or the public records application. You'll be able to see how it works, what the solution is, what the interface looks like, and the workflow, as Matt will take you through that whole demonstration of the application. But generally, again, our practice has been around ECM, records management, and of course with that is case management, which is tied very much into that. It's important for these platforms to obviously have certain things covered. So, we work on cloud, or it can be an on-premise solution, or it can be a hybrid. We're probably one of the few open source case management systems out in the market today. With that, obviously gets us a lot of community support and work that outside of the company a lot of folks have contributed to and continue contributing to. Our solution enablers really can be divided into three parts. Number one is ArkCase, which is, again, the case management platform, followed by our content migration platform, and then followed by our Armedia Content Cloud, which is our FedRAMP moderate content services platform that leverages not only ArkCase, but also AWS, Alfresco, Documentum, FSoft, etc. And certain customers that want to be on our private cloud and want to have that additional FedRAMP protection, they can certainly utilize that, but there are obviously many different options that they could use as well. When we think about case management, it's important to know how we define it. Case management to us is a intersection of a CRM system, a records management system, and a BPM process system, if you will. So lots of different objects. Those objects could be a person object, it could be a document, it could be a data point, it could be many different things that are managed within a centralized application. And that's really what the guts of a case management is. If you divide case management into different types, you would probably derive these four that are listed here. Anything from process to decision, which, by the way, constitutes FOIA or public records. It could be a service request. It could be an incident management, and it could be investigations as well. We'll talk about a few of these other ones in addition to FOIA so that you can get a flavor of what case management applications and solution sets we offer. But let's start off with FOIA, which is the main reason why we're all here today. So as you all know, FOIA has a very specific type of workflow associated with it. There is an initial request that comes in by somebody outside of the organization or the agency. They're requesting for some information. That kicks off some sort of a workflow. Clearly, a lot of that is done manually. There is a lot of communication and collaboration that needs to happen. Most organizations, if they don't have a case management system, they're utilizing, paper-based solutions, Excel spreadsheets, and many manual steps to do this work, which obviously becomes very inefficient in their processes. So lots of different pain points here. So what do we do to sort of affect that from an operations standpoint and also from a workflow standpoint? So if you think about it pictorially, when an agency or when a citizen or a customer outside of the agency is requesting some sort of an information, that information needs to come into the agency. That individual, let's call that individual ArkCase user in this case, will take it through the workflow of that particular case. So in this case, it's an ingestion of that incoming request. Then there is some sort of a fulfillment that occurs. At times, there is legal that needs to get involved so that they can approve certain content that needs to go out or not. Maybe there is a scenario where you have to redact certain portion of this, so redaction needs to be part of it. There is billing, there is tracking of time, there is maybe, again, charging that time back to the original requester. All of that needs to be part of an application, which it is as part of our ArkCase platform. And then last but not least, a response that goes back to the original requester in the way of electronic most of the time, or maybe a web interface where they can go and take a look at the response that they received. So the benefits are very clear. Obviously, if you have a centralized application that can manage all those objects that we just described, it makes things a lot simpler. Certainly, time to value in terms of getting that response back quicker is there. As an agency, you'll be a lot more compliant, responding back in a timely fashion. Inevitably, the amount of error that you make in processing that request will go down. And of course, easier collaboration, accessibility across the entire organization goes without saying as well. So let's quickly talk about some of the other applications that may be interesting besides FOIA. First and foremost, probably investigation. Anytime there is an HR investigation or any type of investigation that you may have, that initial request needs to be logged in. It goes through a workflow that's obviously somewhat different, but again, it needs to have that centralized repository or management of that data so that you can assign individuals, assign legal, and be able to then systematically and centrally address that particular incoming investigation that comes in. One that I really like is our audio-video management or media management. Think about law enforcement with body cams, or legal depositions, or customer service phone calls that are getting recorded. All of these have to be turning into text. We utilize AI and our integration with Amazon to provide this, and have integrated it very tightly within the application as well. The next slide is about our media management. This is one that really excites me, as you can tell. Again, this is one where we can ingest audio or video files, break them up, get, turn them into text, and obviously, include it or store it as part of the application that we're processing for that particular case. The ROIs here are phenomenal. An hour of audio video manually takes about 6 to 8 hours to be transcribed. We can do it in minutes. So again, this has its own specific application, but since a lot of you guys are part of federal or state, local government, you may find that you can leverage the existing application to do other solutions such as this. Let's talk a little bit of bits and bytes. If you look at ArkCase from a process flow perspective, you can divide it into 3 parts. First is the ingestion of that content that comes in via the web, via email, via somebody who is making a phone call requesting for some information from an agency. The crux of the application is in the middle, where we call automate. This is where you can process the case itself, be able to provide a mechanism so that individuals that are involved in that FOIA request can get information from any different repository that they have access to. And then finally, it's connecting it to a backend. Backend could be any backend repository, database, maybe a CRM, or ultimately sending it to via email to the requester that made the original request. Speaking of our backend players, these are some of the sampling of electronic content management players that we support today. There is more. Our technology can integrate with any application that's CMIS compatible out of the box. So it makes it really easy to be able to incorporate one of the three pillars of a case management system, as I said earlier today, which is an ECM or a content repository. Lots of bits and bytes. Matt will go through some of this as we go through it. So again, being able to have a form designer. We didn't talk about analytics and reporting that's part of this. We talked about cost tracking, billing, faceted search, smart technology. These are some of the very, some of them are you probably have seen in other applications, but some of them have also been unique within our application. Only because we want to make it special and we want to make it such that it's a competitive solution out in the market. Speaking of the ones that are special, I could probably divide this into these items that you see here. We have incorporated a bunch of microservices within our application. One of them I described earlier, which is the whole transcribe engine. Those are our AI machine learning sort of areas that we try to tackle. We have recently partnered with a robotic process automation company, and what that could do is affect a business process within a case that we're processing. So imagine a FOIA analyst that wants to process an incoming content. If we can reduce the amount of work that they do in addressing that particular request, we have given that organization a lot of efficiency and optimization, and that's what we will do with introducing robotic process automation as part of our platform within the case management system. Licensing is very flexible, as you see here. The system itself is thin client-based, meaning both the administrator as well as any of the users utilize the system via the web. It's very low code. Majority of the time when we deploy the solution, it's 95% out of the box with respect to FOIA. The other 5% may be configuration. You need to change a label here and there. Maybe you don't necessarily subscribe to all the 7 different workflows that we have. You can click on them, take them off, or put them back in and redo the whole workflow so that it meets your specific agency's requirements. The application is infinitely scalable, both horizontally and vertically. So from a public sector related perspective, just so you know, we're part of GSA, both on 2 separate schedules, Schedule 36 and the IT 70. We're also FedRAMP moderate, which obviously when it comes to cloud implementation, it makes it really easy for us to state that for agencies that obviously are very sensitive to that. And this is the last slide, which is our list of our customers that we have today, just a sampling of them.
If you had any questions, please email us at sales@armedia.com. And we'd love to have a conversation with you outside of this webinar if you have any more questions that we weren't unable to answer. Once again, I thank you all for your time, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.